Who are we? We are by True Envision, a new NGO located in Estonia. We are currently a team of 7 interns and 2 co-founders. That is me, an Austrian living in Estonia, and my co-founder Zenis, who is the electronics guy, and he lives in Latvia. And Latvia is currently in a state of lockdown, so it was impossible to bring him here. What is the project about? Well, we organize a chain of flash mobs in 2022 that aims to bring a little bit of joy and happiness and community back into people's lives. Now, starting in February 2022, we will travel from one European capital to the other, with one flash mob happening every 3 to 4 days. So all in all, that's 28 small events in 100 days. Well, we're primarily targeting students and new graduates, that means Generation Z. But while I did give podcast interviews in summer and autumn, I realized that Generation X, Y, and Z like the idea equally. So if you want to take your younger siblings or your whole family with you, or just come individually and you're a little bit older, you're cordially welcome. Also, our whole team and dress are designed to include everyone. We can potentially include everyone friendly. That means LGBTIQ+, BIPOC, disabled people, etc. Now, the flash mobs are singing flash mobs, followed by about 1.5 hours of local music. We encourage people to come in their most expressive fashion. That means whether it's cosplay, cyberpunk, goth reenactment, or regalia that you would like to wear to this event, or haute couture, anything that represents your inner core best is welcome. So just dress in whatever you like that looks great. At the center of each event is a wearable costume that I'm going to wear, called the Europe dress. It is printed all over in LGBTIQ plus BIPOC colors, and has a very elaborate headdress that looks a little bit like Lady Victory, that we unfortunately don't have a rendering for. The dress will basically start the singing in the following ways. On the actual events, we will encourage people to go to our homepage on their mobile phones. And on the homepage they will find the images of the 28 European countries plus Switzerland, and you can then choose one flag, your own country flag or any country you find friendly, and click on that image. And then from a certain amount of clicks on, the signal will get transferred to the actual flag on my dress, and the flag will light up. And once all the flags are lit up, the costume then starts to play the Ode to Joy, so the European. And I will start to sing along with it and encourage everybody to start singing along with me until we all sing together. Of course, if you're traveling to 28 different countries with vastly different cultures, and depending on the city, we will probably have to adhere to various rules. Now, we have a database with all the places where you apply to for events, and they all have nice lists, and then of course you can check the public pages for these for these countries, and we're going to have to adhere to different limitations and rules concerning how many people we can have, what needs to be done, meaning like, do we have to check COVID passports, do we have to just assure everyone wears a mask? That could be a problem for the singing part specifically. So maybe we will have to limit participants. This is going to work on a first come, first served base. So then it might be that we're not able to perform on a public place and have to rent like a private factory, facility, place, or can only do it with a handful of people live that will all stand like 2 meters apart and with masks, with the exception of the singing part, and the majority taking part virtually, like meaning via live stream. So we cannot make any predictions for now because we don't know how the situation is going to evolve, and there are different rules according to different countries. There's also different COVID situations in different countries. So what is for sure is that we will likely is that we will have to check COVID passports. So it helps if you're vaccinated, and it helps if you have that ready. What about if we don't raise the funds? Well, this is a Kickstarter campaign. If we don't make it up to 50K, all the money gets refunded to the backers. And for us, it means that we have been working on this for a year to gather all the data and all the contacts, etc., build systems, whatever, do the design, etc. for free. I've self-funded it more or less. And both me and my team have all exhausted all our funds and resources, so that's why we're having this crowdfunding campaign. We did try, but that is probably due to the COVID situation right now and a lot of companies having gone bankrupt and the situation being not so great. We've tried to pitch everyone from different arts foundations, government, embassies, private sponsors, mostly related to eco or e-cars, and some lifestyle sponsors with no avail. It is also end of the year, so this is quite difficult to do. So that's why we decided to start this Kickstarter campaign. Well, $50K seems like a big sum at first, but please bear in mind that these are 28 individual events plus external costs that we need to finance. So that means 28 events, inclusive event fees, all kinds of cleanup fees, extra fees if we want to sell anything commercial, then transportation and travel for up to 4 people, paying for software, tech, broadcasting, etc. And we've worked on this event for free for over a year. So that means I've already put all the money I made elsewhere into this. And also my team has given all they could. So mainly the costs are related to the event organization as such. And in some towns, the event registration fees can be as high as up to 500 euros. The answer is yes, we do need translators in 20 out of 28 languages. Some languages we can cover ourselves within the team. We need help with blinging the headdress, sewing jingles on the dress. It's over 1,000 jingles. For event, so live and online security, people who help with the setup of the event, and depending on how messy people leave the place, also we need help with people helping us clean up the place. Why not conventional merch like t-shirts and stuff? Well, designing, printing and sending out to 28 plus countries, potentially worldwide, is an organizational effort that we don't have the resources for, and we'd like to focus on the actual complexity of getting this chain of events organized and done by complying with this monstrosity of different local and regulations. Also with t-shirts, the specific problem that I would be having, because I've been in e-commerce and I've always practiced sustainability as early as 2010, is that I know it's very hard to find decent organic t-shirts, so basically good quality, and to sell this small of a margin, or this small number of t-shirts, for a price that allows you to get enough profit out of it. However, if we reach our goal, we'll make sure that we will sell merch and you will be able to also make photos at the actual events. Now, at the beginning, when we were starting to plan this event, we were recommended to go for the easy sponsors. That means it's either lifestyle or alcohol or cigarettes or something like that. And we actively decided against anything that includes any kinds of drugs, inclusive alcohol. So we would also prefer if people, I know that's hard for some, but I would prefer if people came sober to the events, so that you can enjoy the act of self-expression and networking with other people in a rather woke, other than like in a clouded state. Then the second thing is, we personally don't mind nudity. However, having naked people around in front of kids or teenagers and on a public place, it's a guarantee of having the police involved. And we do register our events officially and legally to avoid that. So please, whatever you wear, make sure that it covers at least your private parts. Now, the third thing is no violence, please. So this is an event for healthy self-expression guided by love. We would prefer if everyone that came to this event could really express themselves the way they wanted within these few given regulations and COVID from our side. So this is not a place to attack others, to hurt, body shame, or mock them for the way they look. We literally built this event to actually give people a platform to feel loved, accepted, and express themselves in healthy ways. Now to the cost breakdown. I decided to include this in this section because I know that there's always some people who like to know the details. Of course, we can't go into every detail, but we can give you a general overview of what the money is needed for, some of which are already covered in the FAQs. The first big chunk that is between 27 and 30k euros, so around 35 to 40k US dollars, are event-related fees. That includes fees for translators, because if you want to officially register an event, you need to do this in a local language in most places, and that's usually not English, so that costs you between 20 to 100 euros per translation, unless you have volunteers. Then there's event registration fees. Depending on whether or not your event is commercial, this will incur higher fees. So the fees can be between 50 to 500 euros per location. Then there's the potential cleanup that might be required in some locations, depending on how dirty people leave the place. So sometimes you even need, by law, a steam machine. That's one of these big, professional cleaning machines, and you need people to transport it and people to operate it. Then there are the fees for the musician. So yes, potentially you can get, I know a lot of very talented buskers that really should get their chance at, being like full-time musicians. So they're happy for any donation, but the point is, if you want to hire, and I would like to hire people for at least a moderate fee, then we need at least 120 to 180 euros per person for a 45 to 1 hour concerts, and donations are welcome in any case. Then there's the security, event security and online security. If you have a lot of people in one place, and we don't know how many there will be, you need to make sure that everything is civil, that there are no crazy people turning up or people who are excessively drunk. We've recently seen this problem with Astroworld, so there can be a lot of things happening. We try to keep things clean and secure. Same thing with online. You might have some nudists, and if you have people, like young people specifically, like teenagers or kids, take part online, we can't allow this. So there needs to be people that are actually supervising the whole process. Then there's broadcasting and team software. So obviously there is YouTube Live and there's Facebook Live, and we will try to, use the means that are cheapest for this. But if we're going to have a lot of people, then we would just really need a decent broadcasting software, and that costs quite a bit. Dress production and material costs. So that's about 2 to 3k euros. We have a calculation. We need 1,200 for materials. That means professional screen printing frames. We tried it without it and messed up royally. We need the paint. We need dress materials. That means both technology like wires and stuff, and the fabrics as such. It's an organic dress, so that's also slightly more expensive. We need about 1,000 industry-grade jingles from a German producer who does all the jingle costume at the carnivals, so they're really, really good. Specifically, if you also want to give people this opportunity to be part of the dress by signing a jingle with their initials, we need decent materials. Then there's rhinestones for the headpiece, quite a bit, and a fee of 800 euros for Arsenis to make it. He's actually the only one in this model that really gets paid. And then we might, unless we get lucky and we get a sponsor, we're trying to find that right now, we need about 1,000 euros for the thinnest possible custom-made LED panels for the dress. They will be underneath the flags so that the flags actually light up. And as I said, we could try to get them sponsored, but there's no guarantee as yet, and it might be difficult. Transport-related fees, they're between 8 to 10K. That means 3,000 for if you purchase a used or rent a camper, then with sleeping spaces for 2 people. Then 3,000 for the electricity for the e-car for 3 months, 2,000 for the e-car to carry the camper, and about 2,000 for 5 flights back and forth for 2 people, because there are certain locations we can't get to that are on islands. We can't drive there, so we have to fly there, 2 people. Last but not least, the project buffer. Normally, you should calculate 10 to 20% into the overall sum for eventualities you haven't considered, because shit happens. We did not include that in our calculation. In business, that would be considered irresponsible. In art, it's life, because art is usually underfunded.